Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over some severe storms which are going to be impacting parts of the central and southern United States, mainly for Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday. We're going to have some milder temperatures on the west side of this front of storms, and then on the east side of this we're going to have some rather chilly chilly pattern, as well as some fairly cold weather actually in parts of the southeast. So let's get right into it here, and let's start off with your current National Weather Service page. As you can see, it is actually quite inactive today. The only thing that's really going on is that we have a little bit of fire weather in parts of the southwest. You can see that in southern Utah, and then we also have that chillier air into the eastern United States. And because of that, we have the frost advisories and freeze warnings in effect for western Michigan. But other than that, the rest of the country looks like they're fine in terms of watches or warnings. Not a lot in terms of watches or warnings currently in place. Yesterday we had a high temperature in Death Valley, California, where they got up to 108 degrees Fahrenheit, with a low temperature in Peterson, Utah, where they got down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. The highest precipitation or rainfall report was in French Settlement, Louisiana, where they got 6.37 inches of rainfall, and there were no snowfall reports as of yesterday in the continental United States. So here's what the Storm Prediction Center's forecast looks like for today. This is not really going to be too big of a threat for today. It looks like probably tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday is going to be when the bigger threat comes in. So this would be for later today. We have a little risk in parts of Kansas and Nebraska, although this is not going to be the big risk that we're going to be talking more about a little bit later on. Here's for day 2, and this is when it starts to get a little bit more active. Here's for Friday, and you can see that areas in eastern Colorado, the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, as well as western Kansas, some of the surrounding areas as well, are under a marginal risk of severe weather. And then if we look at the day 3 outlook for Saturday, you can see that we have a marginal risk of severe weather in parts of Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas as well. And then if we did have the day 4 outlook, that would extend further east, most likely, because those storms will continue to head further south and east. Here's what the actual models are showing in terms of the rainfall and the forecasted radar. You can see that by Saturday early in the morning, we're just seeing a few scattered storms into western Kansas, but it's not really too organized by this point. We have general low pressure over the southwest, and that's going to be heading eastward, and as it does do that, it's going to be bringing in some of that storminess, and that's what's going to really help fuel these storms. So this would be by Saturday morning. You can see that still in the Central Plains, a little bit of storminess, but it's not really too big of a deal by this point. Continuing on through Saturday, still some of these storms heading further to the south, but we're not dealing with anything too substantial at this point, or anything that's going to be too consequential. So mainly just heavy rainfall in some of these areas. Here to be by Saturday around the late morning hours. So this is around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and we're dealing with some of these storms still in parts of Kansas and Oklahoma, but again, they are weakening and heading further to the east. We're now starting to see that through the day, some of this moisture is being pulled up from the Gulf of Mexico. So all through the day, it will actually be fairly clear in terms of the skies in parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, New Mexico. All these areas will be clear, so that's going to allow some more daytime heating than normal, and because of that, these storms are going to really fire off, especially overnight. So you're starting to see some of that instability grow over parts of southern Texas, where you're seeing a few pop-up storms here and there over parts of, again, southern Texas. This would be around 3 or 4 p.m. Central Time on Saturday, May 15th. If we go over a little bit later, so this is around the later evening hours, you're still dealing with mainly just scattered storms, nothing of huge consequence, but this is where it starts to get a little bit more severe. So going through the evening hours on Sunday, what I am noticing is that, especially with models like the NAM and also some of the other models, the more high resolution models, they are showing more severe weather further west, so into western Texas, eastern New Mexico, the panhandle of Oklahoma. So those areas look like they have a shot of being a little bit more severe in terms of these storms. The RGEM model is not picking up on this, but also something that the RGEM model is picking up on, and we will want to watch watch out for this because it has been on multiple of these model runs so far, is that there might be a few clusters of storms in southern and central Texas that continue to just very slowly move southeast, and as it does that, brings a lot of rainfall. So there are two different areas that I'm most concerned for. Again, the area through western Texas and eastern New Mexico and some of the surrounding areas, and also these storms, whatever happens with these storms in southern Texas as well. So those two areas are my main concerns right now. And again, it looks like most of the models, the RJ model is really the only one that doesn't show this, but most models show a rather intense line of storms that moves through the western part of Texas and eastern New Mexico. Moving this on a little bit more, you can see that through Sunday, that line of storms in southern Texas it continues to strengthen. So this is very early on Sunday, a little bit later in the morning, so around 5 or 6 in the morning on Sunday, still dealing with these storms into southern Texas. And then if we just continue to move this forward a little bit more, you're going to see that those storms continue to head into southern Texas and eventually reach the coast. But what I'm more concerned about is, again, how slowly these are moving. So if it's moving this slowly, you're easily going to be able to put up maybe 5 inches, 6 inches of rainfall, which the RJ model even does more than that, almost double what I just said there. So hopefully that does not happen. This is one of a couple of models that are showing this scenario. We had this yesterday on the European model where the Euro was showing over 10 inches in some of these areas, but it's really going to be a matter of how well does this supercell actually develop, how slowly does it move, and also just how long does it stay over that same area, because if it stays over there for maybe 24 hours raining at a heavy pace, well, that's easily maybe 10 to 20 inches of rainfall. Now, hopefully, I don't think that'll actually happen, but let's say that this just sticks over your area for 3 or 4 hours. Now that's a little bit more manageable, but it's still 3, 4, 5 inches of rainfall because of how heavy that rain is coming down. So we're gonna hope that this does not even develop in the first place, and also just hope that even if it does develop, that it just continues to move quickly and that it moves out rather shortly. And you can see that it continues to head to the south, but it's moving at a very, very short and slow pace. So we will want to continue to watch out for that because that could be an issue. So here's what the European model is doing in terms of the amount of rainfall. Now you can see what the Euro does, where it has that line of storms, and you can see that little pocket, and you can see in the top right it says 14.6 inches is the maximum in terms of how much rainfall could possibly fall. Now, I don't think that'll actually happen, and that definitely won't happen anywhere widespread, but it is a threat. It is a threat that we could see some pockets of 3 to 5 or more inches of rainfall in parts of the Central Plains. Also, a rather big threat of maybe 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. Nothing like what could potentially happen with that storm system in the southern United States. And then you can see most of Texas, a little bit of Oklahoma as well. It's around 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches for the rest of the state. Here would be the amount of CAPE, the convective available potential energy. This is a way of measuring instability in the atmosphere, and the higher this number is, the higher the chance of thunderstorms is. And you can see that pretty much everywhere east of the Rockies into the Central Plains has CAPE values that are above that 500 mark, which is fairly good in terms of development of storms. This will be by Friday afternoon. Here would be by Saturday, and you can see 1,000 plus joules per kilogram in all of those areas in western Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma. So all those areas have those higher than normal CAPE values. And then if we look at Sunday, pretty much that same area has the high CAPE values, but also it does get extended into parts of southern and eastern Texas as well. So a couple things that could drive these storms a little bit more. Here would be the high temperatures for Friday. You can see they are chillier than what is normal for these areas, but they're still in the 70s. So there's no issue in terms of the amount of warm air that we currently have available. Here would be by Saturday, even gets up into the 80s, maybe even some mid 80s in parts of Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, even up into Kansas. Here's for Sunday, and you can see that it is also warmer in these areas. We're dealing with upper 70s to some low and mid 80s. Definitely nothing that's too cold at all, and even though it will be chillier than normal, it's definitely still warm enough to support thunderstorms, so that is definitely not an issue with these storms. If we look at the dew points, this might be a little bit more of an issue, especially for Friday night into Saturday morning. By Saturday afternoon, these dew points are going to go way up. But you can see that by Friday afternoon, we only have dew points in the 50s, so that is not sufficient. Usually you want at least dew points in the 60s. If we look at Saturday, those 60-degree dew points do start to pop up in parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, even a little bit of Missouri, and then back down through Louisiana and Texas. And then if we look at Sunday for the dew points, these even go up a little bit more, where you have some 70+ degree dew points in southern Texas. You have 65 degree dew points all through the central and southern plains. So that is looking decent in terms of the development of these thunderstorms. We definitely don't have any shortage of warm air. Dew points will be a little bit lacking, but I think in the later half of the weekend, those dew points will definitely be sufficient to support some thunderstorms. Here's the wind gusts. And I don't think these are going to be too gusty of storms. We're looking at maximum wind gusts going up maybe to 30 miles per hour at the maximum, and maybe a few areas get stuck in a more severe band of storms, but for the most part, we're not dealing with a huge wind event here. So wind doesn't look to be the huge issue as of right now. Now we're gonna have to check what some of the other models, like the NAM 3KM model, does, which isn't fully in range of this event just yet. So once that comes out, I think we're gonna have a way better idea of what may happen, and I think I will have probably a couple more updates on this event. So that is gonna wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.